Hi everyone, I'm happy to be the session chair today for this session. This MPC for General Functionalities 1 and Functional Encryption 2. Oh, this doesn't work, I think. Okay, so the first talk for today, the speaker is review, and the paper is robust, publicly verifiable core security, limited information leakage, and guaranteed correctness with low overhead. Thank you, review. You can start. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. And hello, everyone. I'm Elio, and today I will present our work robust, publicly verifiable cover security, limiting information leakage and guaranteed correctness with low overhead. This is the joy when June 9, 希望现在请安在亚 and Zenwen. And first of all, let me introduce the background. For secure computation protocol, we mainly have two types of protocol. For example, like protocol with security against semi-honest adversary, and protocol with security against malicious adversary. And for semi-honest secure protocol, most of the protocols are efficient. However, they are not. Their security is not. In many scenarios, their security is not secure enough. And for malicious secure adversary, the protocol the security guarantee is strong. However, for many protocol is not efficient enough. So when they want to do about the protocol in the middle, and in 2007, Altman and Lindell introduced the security notion called cover security. And for cover security, there is the malicious party. The malicious party may deviate from the protocol. However, when a fixed and high probability called deterrent factor, for example, like 90%, the honest party will detect this misbehavior. And however, for pure cover security, the honest party can detect the misbehavior, but he cannot convince others that the deviation has happened. So in 2012, Ashok and Orlando introduced the security notion called publicly verifiable cover security, or PVC security. For this, for the protocol with this property, it has the same property as the cover security. And however, when the deviation is detected, the honest party can convince others that the malicious party was deviating from the protocol. More concretely, the honest party can generate a publicly verifiable certificate, and any other people can use this certificate to verify that this malicious guy is indeed cheating. So for PVC security, for its security, it posts reputation risk and provides accountability measures. And for efficiency, it has been shown that PVC secure protocol when deterrent factor 15% incurs only 20 to 40% overhead compared to the state-of-the-art semi-honest protocol based on double circuit. So when we ask, is this the end? And we find that it's not, because when 90% probability like here, we can detect the misbehavior, but the remaining probability, for example, 10%, when this probability, we don't know, the honest party don't know the deviation. And the problem is, now for the PVC security, if the cheating is not detected, no security guarantee is provided for honest party. This means that the malicious party may gain complete knowledge of the honest party's input and can manipulate the output. So it may potentially lead to complete loss of input privacy and output correctness. So in many scenarios, this is not acceptable because parties who are less concerned about reputation may take risks in obtaining significant gain. So some people may ask, well, if we can decrease this probability 10%, like 10% to 1%, can we decrease it and obtain a good result? And we find that it's no, because it's not a good solution, because existing PVC secure protocol has dimensional marginal benefit. For example, like if we decrease the probability from 10% to 1%, it will incur a 10 times cost. So it's a little bit expensive. And so our contribution is that we address this problem for two-party scenario. First of all, we introduce a security notion called robust PVC security. And for this security, when misbehaviors are detected, it's like PVC security. We can maintain the increased cost for malicious party. Those properties provided by PVC security. And at the same time, when misbehaviors are not detected, our security notion can aims to reduce the benefit of malicious behavior. So more concretely, this is the PVC security scenario. And for our robust PVC security, we need that the malicious party can only attempt if the misbehavior is not detected, the malicious party can only attempt at most additional 1 bit of information about the input of the owner's party, and also the correctness of the protocol's output is preserved. So at the same time, in our paper, we also introduced a robust PVC security protocol with low overhead. For example, for deterrent factor 90%, our protocol will only incur additional 10% overhead compared to the state-of-the-art PVC secure protocol. So in this presentation, I will mainly focus on the construction of the protocol and introduce this idea. So let's first start from the PVC secure protocol and introduce this idea, and then we can construct a robust PVC secure protocol. So for PVC secure protocol, a common use technique is called de-randomization. And this idea is that, for example, two parties and Alice can generate 5 seeds. And those seeds are used to generate ordinals for each instance. That means the execution of the protocol, the instance is de-randomization. And how can we define deviation? The deviation is that the protocol does not follow the randomness generated by the seed. And then, like here, you generate 5 seeds. And then the other party vote, you will randomly pick and obliviously obtain 4 seeds. For example, like here, we'll assume that he obtained the last 4 seeds. So by obliviously, it means that Alice doesn't know which seed was picked by vote. And we can use like OT protocol. So I omit this data. And then each seed is used to generate a garbosity in each system, like this. So Alice will use those seeds to generate garbosity. And then Alice will cite the transcript of this execution and send the signature to Bob. And now Bob, because Bob has some seed, he can check the execution of Alice using those corresponding seeds. And for example, Bob need to check the generation of garbosity, right? So Bob will use the seed to generate the garbosity, and then check whether the simulation is the same as the real execution of Alice. And if misbehavior are detected, Bob can use the transcript and also the signature to generate a publicly verifiable certificate to screen malicious Alice. So this is the basic idea. And so for this procedure, Alice use the seed to generate, for example, 5 garbosity and cite the transcript. And Alice will randomly check 4 of them, and then the remaining garbosity is unchecked. And Bob is if all check are passed, and Bob can evaluate this garbosity and obtain the final result. So it's obviously that the deterrent factor of this procedure is around 80%. And now our goal is to make PVC secure robust. And let's recall the security notion of robust PVC security. So for here, we want to let the malicious party can only obtain at most an additional 1 bit of information about the honest party's input, while the correctness of the protocol is preserved. So here, we need output correctness and at most 1 bit leakage. So how to achieve this? We will use a so-called dual execution paradigm. And the dual execution paradigm is that 2 parties and they will switch their role and execute the garbosity protocol. For example, like this, Alice will generate a garbosity, And then this double circuit will be evaluated by Bob, and Bob will obtain the double output and the result. And at the same time, Bob also generate a double circuit, and then this double circuit will be evaluated by Alice, and Alice also obtain the double output and the result. And they use those results, they will perform a equality test. And this equality test will see whether the output are the same. And if the equality test output true, both party will accept this output, and otherwise they will reject this output. So what happens if Alice is malicious? Let's see. For if Alice is malicious and Bob is honest. So for diversity protocol, if the OT protocol is maliciously secure, and in such a protocol, only the certificate gatherer can cheat. And here, the certificate gatherer, for example, like this output, the certificate gatherer are Bob and Bob are honest. So it should be correct. So this output should be correct. So if Bob's output is inconsistent to this output, then Bob will the equality test will output false, and the equality test output false, Bob will reject this output. So we for this for such paradigm, we can achieve output correctness. At the same time, we can see what malicious Alice can learn. What malicious Alice can learn, we can see as a diversity evaluator, she can learn the double output and the result. At the same time, she can also learn the output of the equality test. So if the equality test is 1 bit, true or false, so the Alice at most learn at most 1 bit. So we also can use this paradigm to achieve 1 bit leakage. So now a very straightforward approach to construct a robust PVC security protocol is like this. Alice and Bob can execute a PVC secure protocol. And then they can switch their role. And for example, like Alice will execute the PVC, will as a governor and execute the PVC secure protocol. And also then Bob they switch their role, and now Bob will will generate the double circuit. And then they will obtain their output and perform the equality test. So if then this construction is a robust PVC secure protocol. And to achieve different factor, for example, like 80%, each party needs to generate 9 double circuit and evaluate 1 double circuit. Why 9 double circuit? Because as a circuit gatherer, 5 double circuit are generated. For example, like Alice, she needs to generate 5 double circuit. And as a double circuit evaluator, Alice needs to check 4 double circuit generated by Bob. And to check this double circuit, Alice also need to regenerate the double circuit and compare it when the double circuit generated by Bob. So the cost of this approach is around 2 times the cost of the state-of-the-art PVC secure protocol. So when asked, can we do better? And we find that the answer is yes. So our main idea is due to this fact that we find that as the double view, for example, Alice can generate 5 double circuit, and she also needs to generate 4 double circuits as an evaluator. So when they ask, can this should those double circuits be the same? Be different? We find that the answer is no. They can be the same. So like here, this is the paradigm we have the straightforward approach we have mentioned. And now let's see. We can in fact combine them together like this. And now the double circuit, Alice and Bob will generate double circuit, and they will construct overlap double circuit here. So this double circuit can be generated by both parties and also checked by both parties. So each party will generate 5 double circuits, and the overlap has 4 double circuits. So it means that those 4 double circuits, one people will generate double circuit and also check the those double circuits generated by the other people. So because then for the check of double circuit, they don't need to regenerate the double circuit because they have generated such a double circuit and send them to the other party. So they can reuse the material for common double circuit. So and then both parties can perform the due execution for the 2 remaining double circuit for the due execution. So so now we need to obtain 2 parties need to obtain 4 same seed to generate the middle for double circuit. And if different seed. One party has one different seed to generate the double circuit for the final deal execution. So how to achieve this this goal in a quiet fashion? And our solution is that two parties can jointly generate the seed by OT. Let's see what they can do. For example, Alice can first generate six shares of seed. So she will generate 6 shares of seed, and then they will perform an OT, and Bob will randomly pick 5 of them. Let's assume that Bob will pick the first first five shares. And at the same time, Bob also can generate 6 shares of seed, and then can perform the OT. And Alice also will assume that Alice can randomly pick, and Alice here randomly pick the last 5. Now these two parties have some shares, and we define the C as the SR of these two shares. So Alice, because Alice doesn't pick the first share, so Alice only can reconstruct the last 5 shares. And for Bob can also construct the first 5 shares. Now they have both shares, and then first they need to perform a equality test to see whether their shares are the same. So if they are the same, they need to ensure that 4 seeds are the same, and two are different. So they need to perform the equality test and to ensure that they are not equal. And if they are equal, they will restart the protocol. And then now they can use their shares to generate the double circuit. So now 5 double circuits are generated by Alice and 5 are generated by Bob. And one will be evaluated by Alice and one will be evaluated by Bob. So similar to the PVC secure protocol, each party needs to send out the double circuit, and those double circuits are derived from the seed in each instance. And the other party will use the seed to check the double circuit, and those double circuits has been generated by themselves, so they don't need to regenerate them. They just use the material they generate and compare when the double circuit generated by the other party. And however, there is some problem because, for example, like Alice, she only knows 5 seeds, right? So we have 6 seeds, 6 shares of seeds, but Alice only obtained the last 5 seeds, and Bob also obtained the 5 seeds. But we have 6 seeds, so let's see what problem will be in this scenario. So let's go through this approach and see what happens. First of all, Alice will generate and exchange the double circuit. So Alice will generate the double circuit, but because Alice doesn't know the first seed, so she cannot generate the first double circuit. So let's assume that Alice generate a dummy double circuit. And similarly, Bob will generate the double circuit, but Bob doesn't have the last seed, so Bob doesn't know cannot generate the double circuit. So he generate a dummy double circuit. Then they will exchange the double circuit. And then both parties will sign the transcript and send a signature to each other. And they will check the double circuit generated by the other people. And because they already generated the double circuit, they just compare the double circuit. And they can evaluate the double circuit and do the deal execution. And now let's see if Alice is malicious. Let's see what will happen when they generate the double circuit and exchange the double circuit. Alice can see those double circuits generated by Bob. So Alice will find that the last one is the dummy double circuit. So Alice knows that this means that Bob will evaluate this double circuit and check out the double circuit, right, like that. So if Alice double circuit, the right hand side, the double circuit are generated by Alice and sent it to Bob. And if Alice double circuit says it's malicious, now she can cheat because Bob doesn't know the seed, so Bob cannot check this double circuit. And so Alice can cheat. And if Alice other double circuit are malicious, and now she can refuse to sign the transcript because she knows that her malicious double circuit will be checked by Bob. So she can refuse to sign the transcript, and Bob cannot generate the PVC certificate. So how to deal with this problem and what should I do? The solution is that we need to ensure that both parties can see the double circuit and check their correctness only after all materials for the certificate generation are ready. So our solution is we can use the tunnel puzzle to solve this problem. And let me briefly introduce what is tunnel puzzle. Tunnel puzzle, for example, like Bob have a message M. He can and that is a time parameter T. Then Bob can encrypt the message M and as a tunnel puzzle and send it tunnel puzzle to Alice. And now when Alice receives this tunnel puzzle, she needs to spend at least time T to solve the puzzle. So because she can solve the puzzle by herself, but need to spend at least time T and obtain the message. So this is tunnel puzzle. And we also need a tunnel puzzle can also be opened as like a commitment. For example, like this, Bob can send a message, send a tunnel puzzle to Alice, and then Bob can also open the puzzle when he wants. And Alice now doesn't need to spend the time T to solve the puzzle because it's like a commitment, and Bob can open this puzzle. So now our approach is here. They can these two parties they can use the tunnel puzzle to encrypt the double circuit, and then they can exchange the double circuit, and the party will open the puzzle for checking after all materials for generation of certificate are ready. So when all materials are ready, they will open the puzzle, and then the party can now check the instance. And because when two parties are honest, they will open the puzzle, and we don't need to solve the puzzle. And even if a malicious party after exchange the double circuit they adopt, and the other party can still open the puzzle by themselves up to time T, and then can generate the certificate. So this is the basic idea. And let's see the performance of this construction. For example, like different factor lambda minus 1 over lambda for the state of the MPC secure protocol. The circuit governor need to generate lambda double circuit, and the evaluator need to generate lambda minus 1 double circuit and evaluate 1 double circuit. And for our protocol, each party need to generate lambda double circuit and evaluate 1 double circuit. So they are very close. For example, like different factor 90%, the governor need to generate 10 double circuit, and the evaluator generate 9 double circuit and evaluate 1 double circuit. And for our protocol, for different factor 90%, each party generate 10 double circuit and evaluate 1 double circuit. So the additional overhead is smaller than 10%. And then for communication, for one-way communication, it's nearly identical to the state of the PVC secure protocol. And so for there is no additional overhead in duplex network. So that's all of my talk. And thank you very much. If you are interested in our work, you can see the paper in between.
Thank you so much for the nice presentation. We have time maybe for a couple of questions.
Thank you. Thanks for the talk. It seems your notion about the publicly verifiability is very different from the usual work we know, because when we talk about the publicly verified MPC, we are looking at if all the MPC parties are malicious, a third party can publicly verify the correctness of the execution. And your definition need one of the parties. You only have two parties. One of the parties need to be honest. Otherwise, if both of them are malicious, it's not publicly verified.
Yeah. So the certificate is the publicly verifiable certificate is generated by the owner party. So
yeah, but why is this new definition is a bit different from the common sense?
The definition is for PVC security. We follow the notion of the words of other people. So they decide this and we use this property.
Okay, so basically, publicly verifiability means at least one of the party need to be honest, then it's publicly verified.
It means that if someone is cheating and I'm honest, I'm performing execution when the other people enter the protocol, and I find that he's cheating, I can generate a certificate to other people. And
to blame he's cheating.
Yes.
So it's like disputable or something like that. Okay.
Okay, Wenjie from Input, and my question is, do we need malicious secure for the time puzzle? Because if time puzzle is not against any malicious security, then I think
it's not a protocol, it's just a committee, so just by using commitment in.
but if the adversary is just send anything rubbish, then we get the honest party cannot open the time puzzle. I mean,
yes, but he also need to cite the transcript. So also cite the puzzle. So we will find that the puzzle is rubbish, and other people can also verify that the puzzle is rubbish. So we can also generate the certificate to grant the malicious party because this is deviated from the.
Okay, I think.
Hi, I'm from Antwerp. In my opinion, the main bottleneck of GC is communication. Yeah. So in your scene, I think you reduce the communication. You merge in the DOR execution. You merge the tiny GC, right?
Yes.
But you not reduce the communication of the communication of send the carbon circuit, right?
Exactly. We put the security and when a low overhead.
Yeah. So I think that in the real application, the communication may concern if you can reduce
yes. But our consumption is based on the underlying Gabor circuit. So if the Gabor circuit can be improved, our construction also based on their aim can be also improved.
Okay.
One last question.
Because about the time puzzle, we use some the time puzzle is rubbish, and the others can you said they can the hardware can verify that it's rubbish.
Yes.
Yeah, but it does the burden for other verifier to run long time.
No. In our paper, we introduce some detail. We can use zero knowledge. Use the
zero knowledge proof.
No, not zero knowledge. Just prove that because when I solve puzzle and I see it's rubbish, I can generate a proof to tell others and other people if you solve the puzzle a long time. It's also to verify the proof and okay, it's rubbish.
Thank you.
Thanks to the speaker again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next talk will be on RAM, hyperinvertible matrices, and their application to MPC protocols. The speaker is Junqing Gong. I hope I pronounced well. Sorry. Okay, so you can start. The stage is yours.
Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Liu Hongqing from Shanghai Jiao Tong University. Today, I'd like to introduce our new work, hyperinvertible matrix and their applications to MPC protocols. This is a joint work with Chao Pingxing, Junqing Gong, and Chen Yuan. Let's begin with hyperinvertible matrix and hyperinvertible function. A hyperinvertible matrix, HRM, is an M times N matrix of FQ if and only if every square submatrix is invertible. A hyperinvertible function, HRF, is a mapping F from N values to M values. There are N plus M values of inputs and outputs in total. If F is an HRF, given any N values, we can compute other M values. From the name of HRM and HRF, there is some relationship between them. If M is an HRM, then we can construct a linear map Fm from matrix vector multiplication. Then Fm is an HRF. After the definition of HRM and HRF, we want to construct them. We can fix N plus M distinct values alpha 1 to alpha N, beta 1 to beta M in FQ. Then we can choose a polynomial F such that F alpha I is Xi. Here Xi is one of the inputs. Finally, we can compute Yi from F beta I. Here Yi is one of the outputs. Given the polynomial F, it is easy to construct the corresponding HRM from polynomial interpolation. This is the formula of polynomial interpolation. Okay, an important application of HRM is MPC. We can apply HRM to generate correct shares of uniformly random secrets. There are n parties in MPC protocol, and less than n over 3 parties are corrupted by a malicious adversary. We also need a linear secret sharing scheme, generally Shamir secret sharing. Now we show how to generate random sharings. Every party PI distributes a random sharing XI to all parties. Then all parties can apply HRM to generate n fresh secret sharing Y1 to Yn. Then for the former 2T of them, all parties open Y to PI and PI checks the consistency. If no party complains, we can output the remaining n-2T random sharing. Okay. There are some advantages of HRM in generating random sharings. Firstly, the verification is deterministic and the error probability is 0. In contrast, random linear combination has a negligible error probability. The second advantage is efficiency. To generate ON random sharings, the parties communicate ON square field elements. Therefore, the amortized communication is ON. Finally, the MPC protocol with HRM realizes perfect security. In summary, there are two functionalities of HRM: extract randomness and check consistency. These two properties are summarized as privacy and reconstruction. Although HRM is a powerful tool in MPC, it has a restriction. An n times n HRM requires that there are 2n evaluation points in FQ, which means the field size Q is at least 2n. So naturally, we ask a question: can we construct HRM over constant size fields? The answer is yes. We can construct a variant of HRM, dump HRM over constant size fields. Now let's see dump having multiple matrix. Besides the matrix size n and m, we introduce two additional parameters R and P. R refers to reconstruction, and P refers to privacy. Here we use two integers S and T to denote the number of rows and columns of a submatrix, respectively. The first property implies that if S plus T is now greater than R, then every S times n minus T submatrix has full column rank. The second property implies that if S plus T is now greater than P, then every S times n minus T submatrix has full row rank. We observe that if R and T are n, then every S times S submatrix has full column rank and full row rank in the meantime, which means it is invertible. In this case, dump HRM is actually an HRM. Therefore, we can say that dump HRM is the generalization of HRM. This is the definition of dump having multiple function. The input vector is x and output vector is y. We use two subsets R and G to denote the indices of inputs and outputs respectively. The first property implies that if the size of I plus the size of G is now less than R, given part of input xi and part of output yj, we can uniquely determine the rest of input xr bar. The second property looks a little complicated, and I will explain it. This implies that if the size of I plus the size of G is now greater than P, then given part of input ui, if we randomly sample the rest of input xi bar, the part of output yg is also uniformly random. Before we talk about the construction of ramp HRM and ramp HRF, we discussed their connections with linear code. If there exists a ramp HRM and ramp HRF, there also exists a linear code C or FQ. The length of C is n plus n, and the dimension is n, and the distance is n plus n minus r plus 1. We also require that C has a dual distance t plus 1. So if we aim to construct a ramp HRM with small reconstruction and large privacy, which means the gaps between them are as small as possible, we need a linear code with both large distance and dual distance. Fortunately, we have a good candidate, algebraic geometry code, AG code. The theory of AG code is complex, so I will only give the results here. We can choose a curve of genus T with at least m plus n plus 1 pairwise distinct rational points. If G minus 1 is not greater than m and n is not greater than n, then there exists a ramp HRM, where the reconstruction R is not greater than n plus c and privacy P is not less than n minus c. We find that if the genus T is 0, then the curve is a projective curve, and the edge code is a real code. In this case, we obtain an HRM. With the edge code over constant size, we can construct a family of ramp HRMs over constant size fields. Let epsilon be a constant between 0 and 1. Then the field size Q is 1 over epsilon square, and the privacy P is 1 minus epsilon n. The reconstruction R is 1 plus epsilon n. Having ramp HRMs, we try to build perfectly secure MPC over constant size fields. The field size Q is only correlated to the constant epsilon instead of the number of parties n. However, the price is the number of malicious corruptions, which is compromised to 1 minus epsilon over 3n instead of n over 3. We met 3 obstacles during the construction of MPC. The first one is ramp HRM over constant size fields, which is solved as above. The second one is dynamic arithmetic secret sharing over constant size fields. The property dynamic is due to linear elimination. This technique removes a pair of parties containing at least one corrupted party. Therefore, the number of parties and the corrupted parties can decrease. The last obstacle is error correction over constant size fields during public reconstruction. This is the setting of arithmetic secret sharing. The secret space is a vector of FQ, whose length is epsilon 06n. So it is in fact a kept secret sharing, and it can deal with themed circuits. The themed circuit is single input multiple data. The privacy is 1 minus epsilon 03n, and the reconstruction is n03. We also require that the arithmetic secret sharing is strongly multiplicative. So the only price of multiplication is the increase of degrees. The following algorithm displays how to generate random sharings with ramp HRM. We observe that it is similarly to the original one. The only difference is that here we open the letter n minus t output yt plus 1 yn, and output the former t random sharings y1 to yt. In contrast, in the case of HRM, we open the former 2t of them and output the latter n minus 2t outputs. This is a simple diagram about how ramp HRM works in MPC protocol. There are 3 parties, P2, P5, and P8 are corrupted by a malicious adversary. There are at least n minus t inputs heard by honest parties. for the latter N minus T outputs that be checked. Honest parties have at least N minus 2T of them. So in summary, at least 2N minus 3T values of inputs and outputs are held by honest parties, and at most 3T values are controlled by corrupted parties. According to the privacy and reconstruction of RAMP HRM, we conclude that the former T outputs are correct and uniformly random. These roadmaps are about these are two roadmaps about the original MPC protocol and our new MPC protocol. They follow the same paradigm. Apply HRM and RAMP HRM to generate a special type of random sharing, double sharing, which is a pair of sharings with the same secrets and different degrees. It can be used to reduce the degree after multiplication. So it can be used to generate dual triple. Dual triple is the final goal of preprocessing, and it can transform multiplications to public reconstructions and linear operations. Here we also remark the three obstacles during the construction of MPC. Besides MPC, RAMP HRM have two additional applications in zero knowledge. The first one is MPC in the head. This paradigm generates a two-party zero knowledge proof from secure multi-party computation. A prover emulates imaginary parties in his head and commits the views of each party to the verifier. The view consists of private inputs, random types, and received messages. The verifier then randomly chooses T parties I1 to IT. Finally, the prover opens the views of T corresponding parties, and the verifier checks the consistency. This is a case of perfectly secure MPC. However, if the MPC protocol is only statistically secure, the two parties have to invoke a code-sweeping protocol to generate the randomness in MPC protocol. This incurs more communication complexity and communication rounds. Here we use this algorithm to check the consistency of randomness in MPC with RAMP HRM. Combining this algorithm with MPC in the head paradigm, we can obtain a three-round constant right zero knowledge proof, whose proof size is linear in the size of circuit. The other application in zero knowledge is multi-verifier zero knowledge, MVZK. There are one prover and n verifiers. Very less than or two verifiers are corrupted by a malicious adversary. Here the prover commits the inputs and outputs of multiplication gates with simultaneous sharing to the verifiers. Then all verifiers invoke a code-closing protocol to generate the challenge, and then they execute an inner product checking to check the correctness of multiplication gates. Here we focus on the code-closing protocol. The right graph displays the core idea of code-closing protocol. Given a random sharing, every party invoke a public reconstruction to generate the challenge. Here we find that the challenge is sampled from an extension field of FQ instead of FQ itself, because we want the sumness error to satisfy this formula. This brings a communication overhead of lambda plus log C. Here lambda is the security parameter. The C is the number of multiplication gates in the circuit. If we calculate the number of malicious corruptions to 1 minus epsilon over 2n, we can reduce the communication overhead to O1. We can replace Shamir sequence sharing and HRM with arithmetic sequence sharing and RAMP HRM, respectively. Here we find that the secret space is a vector of FQ, which is isomorphic to an extension field of FQ. Okay, at the last of my speech, I give an overview about the properties and applications of RAMP HRMs. With privacy and reconstruction, we can use RAMP HRM to do many interesting things, such as generating random journeys, verification, and code tossing. These are the building blocks of MPC and zero knowledge proof. I hope this flowchart may give you some insights about further applications of RAMP HRM. Okay. Thanks for your listening. Do you have any questions?
Any question from the audience?
Thanks for the talk. I'm wondering why focus on the fixed size of the queue. Are you considering the dynamic join with party? So we can say yes. Yeah, also wondering if the party is we have the queue large enough. Is it good? Large enough to then?
No, here we already request here we use that the dynamic arithmetic system sharing is over constant size field. It is also independent of the number of parties.
Thanks for the talk. I don't know why the original construction used HM can't get the constant communication MPC, but your RAMP HM can get it. I don't know how it works.
Okay, in fact, in the IKOS, in the original paper, they also realized personal right zero knowledge, but they only realized statistically secure MPC. Here we improve it to perfectly secure MPC. So the communication round is decreased from 5 rounds to 3 rounds. In the original paper, they only mention that they can apply Shamir secret sharing with arithmetic secret sharing over constant right to achieve constant right zero knowledge, but they didn't give a concrete construction.
I mean, it's why use the HM in the MPC like per multi-gate is a constant it's a ON communication, but you use your RAMP HM can get a per multi-gate constant communication.
Because our arithmetic secret sharing is actually a packet secret sharing, it can do ON multiplications in the meantime. So the amortized communication is O1.
Why use the original HM can get this?
If it uses the packet Shamir secret sharing, it can also achieve this.
Okay. Thank you. Some other questions? Okay, so let's thank the speaker again. So next speaker is Xiaohan Zhu. I don't know if I pronounced well. The talk will be about improved fully adaptive decentralized MAADE for NC1 from MDDH. You can start with digital.
Thanks for the introduction. This is a joint work with Jie Chen, Ying Gao, Junqing Gong, and Junqing Gong. Attribute-based encryption is known for its support for the fine-grained access control. In ADE, the encryptor can designate which users to obtain the message, which is done by embedding a policy or an attribute in the ciphertext. A traditional ADE requires a central authority in charge of issuing the secret keys. This relies much on the trust in the central authority. Once the central authority is compromised, the adversary can decrypt all the ciphertexts, and thus the system will become insecure. To mitigate such a reliance on the central authority, decentralized multi-authority attribute-based encryption is introduced. In decentralized MAADE, there are many authorities, each controlling a set of attributes in charge of issuing the secret keys. This increases the workload and difficulty of the adversary corrupting the authorities. The first fully decentralized MAADE scheme is proposed in Asiacrypt 2011 by Lico and Walters. Their scheme supports the NC1 policy, and our scheme also supports the NC1 policy. A decentralized MAADE scheme for NC1 can be described as below. First, global setup. The global setup is to generate the global parameters with the coordination among the users and the authorities. Then the joint authorities proceed their setup. Each authority generates pairs of a public key and a master secret key associated with the attributes that he controls, and publishes the public keys. Here we assume that each authority controls only one attribute. After the authority setup, the authorities can issue the secret keys to the users. Each secret key is associated with an attribute. And for decryption, the secret keys are linked by the global identity of the user. For encryption, the encryptor first decides the policy, that is, the NC1 circuit, and transform it into a linear secret sharing scheme. Then the encryptor encrypts the message with the policy and the needed public keys. Finally, to decrypt, the user runs the decryption algorithm with the collected secret keys associated with his attributes from different authorities. If his attributes satisfy the policy embedded in the ciphertext, he can successfully obtain the message. Otherwise, he will be failed in decryption. The security definition of a decentralized MAADE is very similar to the definition of traditional ADE. There are secret key queries, ciphertext query, which also appear in the definition of traditional ADE. And additionally, there are authority setup queries and authority master secret key queries. When the authority setup queries and the authority master secret key queries are made adaptively, we call it adaptive corruptions. And when all these kinds of queries are made adaptively, the security is called fully adaptive security. Fully adaptive security is first introduced and realized in Asiacrypt 2023 by Data, Komagowski, and Walters. Before their work, the decentralized MAADE schemes can only achieve static corruptions, which means the authority setup queries and the authority master secret key queries can only be made before seeing any secret key. Fully adaptive security is very realistic. It is reflected not only that the adversary can corrupt the authorities at any time, but also that the authorities do not need to join the system at the same time. In this work, our goal is to make DKW23 scheme more realistic from the functionality side and the efficiency side. Our starting point is the observation that their scheme can only make one use of attribute. That is, the mapping role in the LSSS policy is restricted to be injective. And the dimensions of the bridge matrix in their prime order construction are 3K times 3K. The dimensions of the bridge matrix reflect the dimensions of the ciphertext matrix and the secret key matrix, which further reflect the size of the ciphertext and the secret keys. One use of attribute is a limitation posed on the policy, so we want to eliminate it. As for the dimensions of the bridge matrix, we want to further reduce them. So we want to know, can we eliminate the one use of attribute limitation and shrink the matrix? Our work affirms it. Concretely, we contribute in two sets. First, we improve one use of attribute into many use of attribute. Second, we reduce the ciphertext the dimensions of the ciphertext matrix from 3K to 2K plus 1. To show our work, we start from the strategy. First, let's recall the strategy in DKW23. In their work, they use the technique in Fei-Hofheinz, Hills, and Weiss work, and the technique in Gong, Dong, Chen, and Cao's work to transform the composite order into the prime order. In this work, we instead use the technique in Chen, Gong, and Weiss work to transform the composite order into the prime order, and use the technique in Kelchik and Weiss work to improve one use of attribute into many use of attribute. We show our high level. Leveraging the technique in KW19 to achieve many use of attribute is not very straightforward, since their scheme is in the centralized setting, while our scheme is in the decentralized setting. So our first question is, can we successfully achieve many use of attributes by leveraging the technique in KW19? The answer is yes. This is because their scheme shares similar algebraic constructions with ours. Based on the fact that the ciphertext space and the secret key space each consists of 3 subspaces, so achieving many use of attribute requires a 3K times 3K dimensional bridge matrix. By leveraging the technique in CGW18, we can successfully reach shorter parameters. And this requires a K plus 2 times 3K dimensional bridge matrix. Now we try to achieve multi-authority and many use and shorter parameters. So our second question is, can we successfully achieve this goal by combining the two techniques? Our answer is yes. We can achieve many use of attributes in the decentralized setting with 2K plus 1 times 3K dimensional bridge matrix. We proceed to the technical details. Let's first recap the composite order in DKW23's scheme. Observe that in the ciphertext space, there is statistical indistinguishability, which is used for changing the secrets in the LSSS policy. This is the crux that makes their scheme restricted by one use of attribute. Since to use statistical indistinguishability, the master secret key needs to be random. and this requires the mapping role to be injected. Leveraging the technique in KW19 makes the statistical indistinguishability become computational indistinguishability. Theoretically, statistical indistinguishability requires a one-dimensional subspace, while computational indistinguishability requires a k-dimensional subspace. We demonstrate this process of changing the secrets. In the ciphertext space, for statistical indistinguishability, the first subspace is k-dimensional. The second and the third subspaces are each one-dimensional. According to DKW23, we first change the secret in the third subspace. By leveraging the technique in KW19, the third subspace is k-dimensional. In KW19, the third space is k-dimensional. Then we change the secret in the second subspace, and this makes the second subspace become k-dimensional. Now we have a 3k times 3k dimensional bridge matrix. Then we omit many use of attribute Go and try to transform the composite order into the prime order by leveraging the technique in CGW18. The key idea in CGW18 can be generalized as below. When using the MDDH assumption to jump from a subspace to another subspace, there is a base subspace, which is circled by a purple circle here as an example, and it should be k-dimensional. There is a jump subspace, which is circled by an orange circle here as an example, and it should be one-dimensional. With the key idea in CGW18, we first analyze the ciphertext space. Observe that in the ciphertext space, there is we need based on the first subspace to jump to the third subspace. Next, we jump from the first subspace to the second subspace. Therefore, the first subspace should be k-dimensional. The second and the third subspaces are each one-dimensional. We demonstrate this process. In the ciphertext space, with the first subspace being k-dimensional, we first jump to the third subspace, and this makes the third subspace become one-dimensional. Next, we jump from the first subspace to the second subspace, and this makes the second subspace become one-dimensional. Then we analyze the secret key space. In the secret key space, we need to first jump from the first subspace to the second subspace. Next, we jump from the second to the third. Then we jump from the third to the second. We demonstrate this process. In the secret key space, with the first subspace being k-dimensional, we first jump to the second subspace, and this makes the second subspace become one-dimensional. Then we jump from the second to the third, and this makes the second be covered by k dimensions, and makes the third become one-dimensional. Then we jump from the third to the second, and like the previous step, this makes the third subspace become k-dimensional. Take the ciphertext space and the secret key space together. We have a k+2 times 3k dimensional bridge matrix. Together with many use of attributes, we have a 3k times 3k dimensional bridge matrix. This result contributes little to the efficiency side. So at this point, we haven't reached our goal. Our key observation is that to achieve many use of attribute, we only need one k-dimensional subspace. This is because the entropy from one k-dimensional subspace is sufficient for randomizing both of the secrets. With only one k-dimensional subspace, the dimensions of the ciphertext space can be reduced from 3k to 2k plus 1. But which subspace should we choose to be set as k-dimensions? We try subspace by subspace. First, we set the second subspace as k-dimensions. So can we achieve many use? The answer is no. This is due to the orthogonality between the subspaces, which will make the second subspace be cancelled out, so that the entropy is lost. Well, if we set the third subspace as k-dimensions, can we achieve many use? The answer is yes. For the third subspace, the orthogonality is invalid. The inconsistency between the second subspace and the third subspace stem from the algebraic constructions. So now we finally reach our goal. To summarize, our scheme preserves the fully adaptive security. And furthermore, our scheme makes improvement in the functionality side, which is reflected on achieving many use of attribute, and in the efficiency side, which is reflected on reaching shorter parameters. The future direction is, can we remove the random oracle so that we can obtain constructions in the standard model? Thanks for your listening.
But yeah, I was wondering, you said decentralized multi-party, and do you need some trusted setup or trusted given?
We have a trusted trusted phase, but we don't need a trusted entity authority.
So these parties, they are fully independent.
This is a coordination, not done by one party. This is done by many parties. The parties are the users and the authorities. The global setup. Yeah.
So there is just one-time setup.
Yeah,
And
the
these are
global setup is.
Global setup.
Yeah, and there's another setup is is called authority setup phase. Only the global setup phase needs a coordination among the users and the authorities. And this is cannot be done by a one entity or authority.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, so let's thank the speaker again. Okay, so the last speaker for this session will be Junqing Gong, and the talk will be about verifiable, decentralized, multi-client functional encryption for internet products. Thank you. You can start.
Okay, thank you very much for the introductions. So, hello everyone. I'm Zui, and I'm from Telecom Paris. And today I'm going to talk about my paper with the title Verifiable, Decentralized, Multi-Client Functional Encryption for Internet Product. And this is a joint work with my supervisor, Junqing Gong, and the Information Lab. Okay. So to start, I would like to recall the notions of functional encryptions. This primitive was introduced by Vanessa and Waters in 2011. So here we have three parties: an authority, listeners, and the receivers. So at first, the authority will run a setup and generate the public key EK and a secret key SK. And with EK, any senders can encrypt the data and send the text to the receivers. And the authority will escalate to generate the functional encryption key from function F. And with DKF, the receiver can decrypt only the function F evaluated on the private data and nothing else. So this is the basic principles of functional encryption. So functional encryption becomes even more useful when we consider the case of multiple independent standards computing join functions. So in this scenario, the authority will run the setup and generate private encryption key EKI for each sender I. And each sender I in this case will encrypt the data under some label L. And the securities of multiplying settings guarantees that the receiver can only obtain the decryption for the ciphertext under the same label and nothing otherwise. So for valid decryptions, the receivers will obtain the joy function F compute over the joy inputs sent by each sender. And in general, the input privacy of each senders in this case depends totally on the authority. So here we come to another variant of MCFE, which we call decentralized MCFE. So decentralized MCFE provides stronger security notions for each senders by removing the trusted assumptions about the authority. So here, each sender I will enjoy an interactive protocol setup to obtain her own encryption key EKI and security SKI. She encrypts in MCFE. And now for each function F, each sender will use SKI to generate the key share for the function F, DKFI. And the receivers has to collect all the key shares from all senders to reveal the decryption key for function F and to decrypt as in the MCF case. So in this work, we consider in the decentralized MCFE for in the product. So to be precise, an in the product functions represent by vector Y is defined as the F, the vector Y, the text of vector X as input, and output the sum of Xi times Yi. And in IPTM CFE, each senders encrypt Xi and direct keys trade for the Yi. And the decryptions now output in the product of vector X times vector Y. So in the literatures now, there are in fact concrete constructions of IPDM-CFE based on EDH and that is. And in practice, IPDM-CFE turns out to be quite useful for computing statistical analysis of private data from multiple sources. And in this work, we even push the notions of IPDM-CFE closer to the real-world context by considering its verifiabilities. So we see that IPDM-CFE can become easily meaningless when there exists a malicious standard I that try to encrypt some arbitrarily large value to randomize in the product. Or more generally speaking, malicious standard I now try to produce non-form DKI and CTLI to the receivers. And when the receiver collects this maliciously generated parts, he may get non-form functional recursion key DK vector Y and some value alpha. And now alpha can be strongly biased from the real in the product on the honest data set. And by the way, in another line of research for secret aggregations, there is also a work that focuses on the input validations for secure aggregations. So now our contributions are divided into three parts. Firstly, we formalize the notions of verifiable DMCFE with the ability to identify malicious standards. And secondly, the key share in the decentralized settings is the bottleneck for efficiency in the decentralized settings. So we propose a technique to facilitate the verifications. So firstly, we will create a scheme called one-time decentralized sum based on class group. And from all these sums, we will come back to a full-fledged sums that is tailored for the verifications. And as a practical solutions for the aforementioned problems in real world, we propose a practical, efficient, range verifiable DMCFE for in the product. So about the formalization of verifiable DMCFE, we consider verifiability within a predefined family of message predicates, PM, and a family of message function predicate, PF. And for each standards, we require them to join the keygen and together output a verification key for ciphertext and a verification key for keychain and some auxiliary key PK that will be used for the decryptions. And each standard is supposed to encrypt some value xi to satisfy the message predicate PMI. And for each function f, we require that f should satisfy some predicate PF. And now for receiver, there are two algorithms for verifying keychains and ciphertext. So those algorithms will output either one for rejecting, one for accepting, or zero for rejecting along a set of malicious standards. So here I will come straight into the notions of verifiability. We define verifiability in the game-based settings. So we let the adversary throw the oracles to corrupt the senders, and then he can play as the corrupt senders in the keychain protocol. So he can manipulate somehow the verification key for CT and for EK. And we also let the adversary to choose the message predicate for all senders and function predicate also for all senders to follow. So the adversary will win by two conditions. The first one is that all the tests are valid. And now statistically that does not exist a couple of xi such that hxi satisfy the ni, and the decryptions each function query fj now gives fj evaluated on x1 to xn. We call this notion the input validations. And the second condition of winning is that if some test fails, so for some function query fj, now the malicious standard set output by verify CT and verify DK contains a non-corrupt standards. So we call this malicious standard identifications. So in an utopia, we want that a verifiable IPDM CFE that is compatible with practical building blocks. For example, the small line proof for discrete lock, for equalities, for the key consistency. We use the range proof for citizen commitments for the input validations. However, there will be some problem related to the decentralization of MCFE. So here I will start from MCFE scheme from the Asiacrypt 18 by Shutayan. So in this scheme, each secret key of senders is SI, and the ciphertext is actually an L1 equations of XI by the key SI with HL, where HL is generated by a hash function onto the group. And the decryption key for vector Y here is the sum of SI times YI. Okay, so now we have the ingredients. The problems now come from the fact that in order to decentralize IPMCFE, we need lower tools that we call the decentralized sum that is used to be generate compilers to transform MCFE to DMCFE. So in this primitive, each sender I can also encrypt the value in a decentralized manner, but the receivers, after collecting all the ciphertext, can only get the sum of XI. The bottleneck in efficiency now lay in the formations of the ciphertext in the decentralized sums. Because as we can see here, the ciphertext require the applications of the PRF over a key exchange between each player sender I and J. And this problem is also an efficiency bottleneck in the verifications of individual key for the Bitcoin protocol. So we will not use the MPC technique, which requires additional routes here, but we will try to make a decentralized sum that is tailored for verification, so that the verifications for the decentralized sum will be only a constant cost. So the first attempt is to construct a proof-friendly decentralized sums with the following property for encryptions. So here I denote three properties. Firstly, the decentralized sums now can have some algebraic form that can be verified within first import. And to be compatible with the MCFE, we need the input domain of the sum to be ZP for prime P. And for the later use of pairing, we require that the decentralized sums now impose no bound on the sum to be decrypted. So we found that it's quite hard to instantiate such a scheme eSum in the brain-friendly groups. So here we relies on a recent group structures called class group. This group structures was invented by Castaños and Laguillomy. So the group generations now take a security parameter lambda and a prime P as input and output a cyclic group jihad. And jihad can be decomposed into jihad to the power of P times F, and F is a subgroup of power of P, while the discrete log is easy, and jihad to the power of P is a subgroup of P powers in jihad, and the group, the other jihad to the power of P is unknown. So for the hardness assumptions, we will later realize on the hidden subgroup membership in class group for the privacies of our scheme, while the assumption low orders and strong root will be used for the service of verification. So in general, the advantage of using class group here over parent group is that we can choose P freely as a large prime. So we can choose P to be equal to the prime order of parent group. And the setup now is transparent. And in a recent work, it is proven to be faster and smaller than a group. So here we come to the first contributions. This is the one-time decentralized sum in class group. Now, for all users, the public parameters is simply the generations of class group. For each sender, now we let him choose the secret key TI and publish GP to the power of TI. And to encrypt some value XI in modulo P, you can encrypt, you can compute F to the power of XI times mask generated by the product of TJ with I smaller than J times the inverse of TJ with I larger than J all to the power of TI. And for receiver to decrypt, you can simply multiply all the ciphertexts together. So we can see here the mask generated in the subgroup by GP now vanish, and what he received is F to the power of the sum of XI. And by the class group properties, the discrete log over the subgroup generated by F is easy to compute. So we can easily descend the sum of XI no matter how large it is from the discrete log of F. However, this decentralized sum is not yet ready to decentralize MCFE because we had some security problems here. So we can see that here in the ciphertext, the mask depends only on TJ and TI, which is generated from the TJ process. So here we cannot re-randomize the ciphertext for each time of encryption. So that's why we call this these sums the one-time decentralized sums. To solve the problems of one-time secure encryptions, we propose a technique of bootstrapping to label subcomplexity sums. So here we leverage the use of IP MCFE encryptions, which is again an alpha encryptions with security SI, message XI with ransom randomness HL, where HL is a group element generated by the hash function of the group. So MCFE here can be the MCFE for sum with the deterministic encryption key decay with the one, which is the sum of SI. So the idea here is that we will use the one-time decentralized sum that we just construct to decentralize the MCFE key decay for with the one. So we can obtain the benefit for verifiability in this case because the ciphertext of both IP MCFE and OD sums are easy to be proved and verified. So to be clear, here I show the constructions of label supporting these sums. On the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, I show the one-time decentralized sums in class group, and on the right-hand side, I show the MCFE in prime order group. So on the left-hand side, we run the one-time decentralized sum only one time. So after the receivers get, we will let each sender here to encrypt the secret SI in MCFE. So when the receivers collects the sum of SI in modulo P, this is equivalent to the fact that he obtains the decay for vector 1 in MCFE. And now we can use the decay vector 1 to compute the sum of encrypt value by MCFE. And a final point to note here is that because we relies on the MCFE encryptions, so we need to compute a discrete lock from the disk exponents of the generators in a prime order group. So to solve this problem, I will remind that we try avoid using pairings from the beginning by relying on the class group properties. So now it's time to use the pairing to solve the problems of discrete log calculations in LD sum decryptions. So namely, we will instantiate MCFE in G1 and the label supporting this sum in G2 that we just construct. So the DMCFE in the product to decrypt now, we give the value of xi times yi in the power of the packet group GT. So now it's time, because xi times yi are restricted to be in small range, so we can easily decrypt it. So here I will skip the details about the small proofs between discrete log equalities between class group and pairing groups. But the key-share verification can be done by a sigma protocol with respect to some committed SI and YI, while the syntax can be done by a black box branch group plus the sigma protocol for the committed SI. So in terms of efficiency, here the syntax we have the proving time, proving size, and verifying time depending on the bulletproof. And here we instantiate bulletproof and the range from 0 to 2 to the n minus 1. And for each key share, because it can be proved and verified by sigma protocols, so it only has the overhead cost data constant. So here we measure the efficiency in group exponentiations, scalar operations, and for the size we measure them in group elements and scalars. Our scheme also supports batch verifications because we relies on a linearly homomorphic commitment, so that to check if all the key share are correct, it requires now only 2 times n group exponentiations and 6 pairings, while for the syntax, it is based on the batch verifications by bulletproof. For the security, our verifiability now have the syntax service based in random Morocco model because we use the non-iterative proof and the EDH assumption in symmetric external Diffie-Hellman pairing group. And for the key share verifications, it's based on the low order assumption in class group and strong group assumption. And we also relies on the random oracle from the sigma protocols in the non-interactive mode. And for indistinguishability, our scheme achieved static corruption in distinguishability. So because we use the hash function of the group in the MCFE, so it also relies on random oracle model. And we use hash group, it relies on hidden subgroup membership and the pairing group for the MCFE. So to recap, I just show an overview to go from one-time decentralized sums to be combined with MCFE to obtain label supporting these sums, and we will use the label supporting these sums to mix with MCFE again and range proof and sigma protocols to achieve the practical range verifiable MCFE. So to conclude, our scheme now support efficiently identifying unbounded numbers of malicious senders without any non-interactivity between users, because we don't base on the MPC that asks each users to check the consistency in the decentralized sum generation again. And we use the range proof apex for peers. So in other contexts, we can just simply replace the range proof by any other BDC-based proof or message predicate. And the point takeaway is that the label sums can also be used as a verifiable sharing group identity. And another open questions is that normally the decentralized sums allows the dynamic mode where users can join dynamically into the scheme. But now, by using the MCFE enable supporting system, we restrict the mode to not support dynamic at the MCFE. So this will be an open questions in the future. Thank you very much for the attention.
Any questions from the audience?
The class groups you mentioned, are they the class groups, the notion of class group from algebraic number theory?
Yeah, it's a
Other?
I wonder why you choose the class group based homomorphic encryption. What is the advantage of it?
class for homomorphic encryption.
Okay.
Change to the slide.
You use the CL framework as what is its functionality?
The functionality is here as you know in the advantage, so that we can choose the order of the subgroup generated by F to be prime P. So we can choose it to be equal to the prime order P in parent group.
Use it as now homomorphic encryption.
Actually, here in this work, we don't realize much on the homomorphic properties.
Okay, I see. I originally created homomorphic encryption.
Here we use the homomorphic properties.
I have a question. So maybe you already said you're in the static corruption or adaptive corruption model. You're in the static or adaptive.
Is static corruption but adaptive message.
Okay, so adversaries cannot, in the security game, cannot keep corrupting the players.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I you thought about like how to extend it to the adaptive corruption model?
Yeah, actually, yes, but the problem is still about the bottlenecking efficiency because when we change to the mode adaptive corruptions, then we resort to the decentralized. We again resort to the decentralized generate use of decentralized sums.
I see. Okay, so this is the same button. Okay, thank you very much. Let's thank the speaker again. So we are perfectly on time. Thank you also for the audience to be here. Okay. Anyway, nice to meet you, Daniel.